So, okay, my name is Martin, and
Martin, hi, my name is Eric Davis. I'm a colleague of Martin's, also with the Kessel Export Department. And this again is a dedicated video webinar to our colleagues in India, organized by New Green and Mr. Raman Kapoor's his company.
Yes, thank you. So then we go directly to the presentation. Yes, and it's about grease separators, and don't forget, lifting station and drains belongs to the grease separators. So we will see what we can see in the webinar. Let's go.
All right, so we're going to be moving from the live camera right now to the PowerPoint, which will be directly on your screen. It will be easier for you to follow that. Questions you have, you can write in the chat box, as Mr. Mellon mentioned, and at the end of that we'll be addressing them. But as Martin said, this is a dedicated webinar on Kessel grease separators, certified under EN, European Norm 1825, as well as lifting stations, which is an important part when specifying or designing a grease separator. Often after the grease separator, a lifting station is required. And again, all the lifting stations offered by Kessel are certified under the European Norm EN 12050. So everything we'll be talking about over about the next hour are fully European certified systems designed and manufactured by Kessel. So we're going to jump from the live camera right now to PowerPoint, and we'll run through a presentation, and we'll get started right now.
Okay. Let's go for it.
Martin, just for you, there are at least still 200 people who are waiting. Please accept their invitation.
Yeah, correct. So Raman, if you're all set, I'm going to get started. If that's okay, Raman, please confirm that's okay, then I'll get started.
Okay, let's start.
Yeah,
the presentation.
So we're going to get started. Again, there's going to be two main products we're looking at today. We're going to start with Kessel Easy Clean Grease Separators. Again, as mentioned before, certified under European Norm 1825, which is the governing norm or governing body that regulates how these separators are made, out of what material, how they're manufactured, and how they're tested. The most important group in our whole chain is the engineering consultant. I believe the majority of you taking part today belong to that group, and these are the main points I would like to get over to you to help you do that work, do that specification work. Our experience has been that you guys are more concentrated or busy with heating, ventilation, plumbing, those type of issues. And when it comes to grease separators, it's something that you'd like to have off your desk as quickly as possible. And we've had the experience in the past that that's where we come into play. We can do all the sizing, all the design, all the drawing, all the specification text for you, and send all that information to you. So basically all grease separator and even lifting station work, we can handle all that work for you. And important to note here, it's not Kessel values we're giving you fully certified European norm values. So on your screen right now, you should have what a consultant needs to know. The British term for it is normally FOG, fats, oils, and grease. And very simply said, if fats, oils, and grease are being entered in a wastewater stream in any commercial application in Europe, then a grease separator needs to be specified and installed. We've had, over the past 10 years, 15 years, doing a lot of work in the Middle East. They have taken over the European norm values. There's still some mixing going on with the United States regulations, but it's mainly been turned to European norm values. And since we've been working with New Green and Raman Kapoor and his company, we've been also passing on this experience, successful projects that we've been doing. And I believe also the European norm now is coming into play into the Indian market. So again, I'm guessing we're working on larger applications, hospitals, hotels, prisons, schools. And whenever there's a kitchen in that area, that's where a grease separator comes into play. You see on your screen now the problems that can come into play if a grease separator is not used. These pictures are out of London, England. London's been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Over the past, I'd say 50 years, the population has exploded. There are now restaurants everywhere for any of you who have ever been there. Their sewer systems are dated back to the Victorian times, and they're running the significant trouble with grease blocking the pipe. So again, it's a very simple solution to avoid problems like this. On a new build, a new design project, please specify the proper size, the proper type of grease separator for the project. You're saving your problems that you see in these pictures here. And once you run into these problems, it's difficult to solve them. The pipe on the bottom right, that's clogged. There's no cleaning that out. That pipe needs to be replaced. And you see there on the left, London has teams of guys that spend their entire working week emptying the grease blockages out of the channels, the sewages in Europe. The material of the separator, also very important. Just deciding to use a separator, that's one of the important questions. The material you use or specify that the separator should be made out of, in our opinion, is one of the most critical steps, one of the most critical decisions. You see here, these are sort of US-style separators. These can be out of cast iron, coated cast iron, even stainless steel. If serviced properly, you may have good luck with a separator like this. Normally the case is they're installed and forgotten about, and over a short or medium period of time, you can run into corrosion problems as you see on the picture here. So again, we recommend to stay away from any type of metallic, any type of steel, any type of coated cast iron grease separators, because the corrosion issue comes into play. The grease sits in there for days and days and days, becomes very acidic. That can attack the interior of the grease separator on welds, on screws. If you have metal inside the separator, that could be from utensils or the little plastic or mustard, not the metal plastic or mustard containers. That's where corrosion starts on the grease separator. The next shot is a concrete separator. This is, it says live, pictures out of Bangkok. These were live. Kessel was on site in Bangkok several months ago, walking through hotels, high-end 5-star hotels, very nice interior rooms, high-end food and dining. But when you go in the basement, you can see the problems that they have due to the incorrect type of separator installed in the hotel. So this is a specific hotel. You see on the right the concrete separator. There's been an overflow there. There's corrosion on the concrete tank. There's also a completely open lifting station in the picture that had also failed. So we were called on site about 2 weeks after this separator system overflowed. This picture has been taken from a parking garage, and what I don't show on the right is that the entire parking garage is full of solidified grease. So again, we recommend staying away from concrete also. It can run into corrosion problems. Just going to get a quick check if somebody can write in the chat box if the presentation is showing up okay. If some people can see the presentation.
So not everybody can see the presentation, and the quality, I think it's not for everybody visible. Is it?
No, not an issue. But in the presentations looking is very nice. No, not an issue at all.
Okay, we're getting a lot of yeses. They can see a couple of you are responding with no. So we'll try to work on that, but we're going to move forward. It appears that most of you can see it. We're getting a couple no's that we'll try to look into. Back to the material of the separator. You see here, the most important thing you need to know from the Kessel side of the story is the material to use is polyethylene, PE. Again, if you came into the European market or any Middle Eastern or Indian market 20 years ago, you would not see any type of polyethylene grease separator. So Kessel's been working very hard over the past, I'd say 10 or 20 years, moving this knowledge onto everybody in the business. Again, the main partner is the planners. If you choose a polyethylene grease separator, the corrosion issue is gone. So you need to worry about if you choose a different material, you make the decision, specify a metal or concrete separator, and over the next years or over the next decades, you would have that worry in the back of your mind that the material was incorrect. So as soon as you specify a polyethylene separator, which all Kessel grease separators are made out of, they're all made out of virgin polyethylene, the corrosion issue is gone. So you see the materials here is a virgin polyethylene. We get sourced in from ISO certified suppliers. So there's no recycled material we receive. Everything is high-end, expensive polyethylene powder that we use. Again, it's leak-proof, ultra lightweight, about 1/10 the weight of concrete, easy to ship, easy to move on site, 100% corrosion-free. We offer a 20-year guarantee on the material itself, but the material itself will outlast the building. And again, it's a very easy material to clean on the outside or inside. You remember that concrete separator with the fat buildup on the outside. Again, with the Kessel grease separator, everything stays on the inside, and cleaning the interior of it is also very easy to do.
And you should know that Kessel was the first one who had a plastic separator. That was nearly 30 years ago. Eric, right?
Yeah, you might hear from this that Martin's been around a little bit longer than I have in the business, but yes, he's correct. In both the fuel separator and grease separator, Kessel is the first manufacturer to offer certified polyethylene separators. We've gone to the next picture, which is a Kessel system. After the separators, we're going to talk about lifting stations, but there's also channel drains included in a commercial kitchen. This is a relatively small picture here. My arrow. Those of you following the screen can probably see my green arrow. Again, Kessel doesn't supply kitchen fixtures, but we do supply full stainless steel Kessel German manufactured 304 and 316 stainless steel point drains like you see here. Or we have a complete range of linear slot drains as well as channel drains. So all the floor drains of this kitchen, and again, this is a small one. We also work on very, very large kitchens. That also can come from Kessel. So the main part there would be the stainless steel drains flowing via gravity into the Kessel grease separator that we're talking right now about, and we'll be following that up afterwards with the lifting station behind it. And all are connected together. That's why during the specification phase, the design phase, all these three systems should be considered together to make sure that they match the right size. You can change the size of the amount of stainless steel channels. That will change the size of the grease separator, could also change the size of the lifting station. So when you keep it as a Kessel system, all the specification work, the calculation work we can do for you, and it's all designed to work together. If you mix and match and use a Kessel lifting station, a competitor's stainless steel drain, and another supplier's lifting station, you could run into different materials, and the service is more difficult. When you have the entire system from Kessel, service, product support, spare parts, everything comes from one source. So it all comes from the Kessel company. I'm going to jump now quickly to how the European norm Kessel Easy Clean separators they call work, how they work. And again, this is the most simple part about it. Also the beauty of it is they all function with gravity, which is basically the operation of how a European norm separator would work. So as you see on the left, the gravity principle, meaning all solids heavier than or denser than water will settle to the bottom. As the water is flowing to the outlet, so here the direction of flow is left to right. As the water from the kitchen is flowing from the left to the right of the separator, solids to the bottom, lighter solids as well as mainly grease floating to the top, and the clean blue arrows you see here would be the clean water exiting the separator. And we go through testing of these separators. They're sent to third-party testing agencies that monitor our testing or the results, the effectiveness of the grease separator. And with our certification, among many, many things, that the sizing right, the materials right, but also the outlet concentration, how much grease comes out of the separator during operation, that is also tested. And again, we passed the test, meaning we can offer European norm approved separators. And again, on the left here you see no electricity, no chemicals, no enzymes, no bacteria. So the daily operational cost of a Kessel Easy Clean separator is zero. The only cost you have for the building is the disposal, which probably takes place, the norm requires it once a month. So it's either probably once every month or once every 2 months that the separator is empty and disposed of. One of the popular ones that New Green has been marketing in the Indian market is our MS shredder mix system, which you see here. This is a very high-end grease separator with control unit. I'm going to bring my arrow here again. So included with the system is everything you see here. There's a control unit to stop and start the pump. Here is the pump, and here's an important point of the Kessel systems. Kessel higher-end grease separators run on a single pump basis. There's some of our competitors out there that have twin pumps and need one pump for high-pressure water, a second pump for disposal. And the positive advantage of a Kessel separator is this single pump that does all this work. So here you can see this is our shredder mix pump, and that's the pump that does the mixing, cleaning, and disposal of the grease separator. And we'll see that in a second. So on the left, control unit included. Pump is included with the system. There's different pumps we have. In Germany, our standard 3.0 kilowatt is the standard pump to use. When we go to larger markets, to India, for example, the disposal height to the disposal truck could be higher, could be 5, could be 10, could be 15 meters. We also have stronger, more powerful disposal pumps to run higher disposal pipes if required. But again, if you work with Kessel on this, we will be asking all these questions to make sure that the proper system is used. Here we see the refill unit. This is connected to on-site hot and cold water supply if available. This is required to help just during the disposal process. So about every one month or every 2 months, somebody will be on site with the disposal truck to run the pump, add hot water to help clean, cold water to refill the separator. And here you see the identity of this MS system is a manual valve. So on top of this disposal pump and cleaning pump, there's a manual valve. During the disposal, this is changed 180 degrees, which allows the pump to either cut all the contents and spray them back into the separator to clean it, or when the valve is turned 180 degrees, the disposal pump is used to pump into the disposal truck. So with this system here, the disposal truck does not need any vacuum system. All the disposal of the separator is done by this pump itself. The truck just needs to be there, empty, and have the hose connected to it. And we'll go through the steps in a little bit more detail right now. This is step 1, which is the mixing function. So again, during the normal days or weeks or months, this is not happening. The grease separator is collecting grease and sludge. When the separator is full, which is probably every month or two, that can be seen by a visual inspection glass or port that we have in the separator, or a digital sonic control measuring device that we'll see in a second. So when the separator is full, that's when these advantages come into play.
And Eric, mixing function, that's the only thing, Kessel is the only one who is doing that, right?
Correct. We've decided to make the decision. We have competitors out there, of course, also with their highest end separators. And in the past, when we offered a high-end separator, the consultant or the building contractor would say, I want the same offer from another company. But we've sort of made the decisions with our high-end separators not to compare them with the competitors, because as Martin mentioned it, they're different systems. True, each company has their highest end separator, but ours functions different than the others. So we have a single pump system, and we mix the contents of the separator as one of the disposal steps, which none of the other companies do. So we'll take the entire contents of the separator, go through a mixing stage where we take the solids on the bottom, the clean water in the middle, and the grease on the top, run it all through the macerating pump on the base of the separator here. And as you see, this yellow line, this yellow pipe, is connected back into the separator. And here you can see we're mixing everything together. That makes it much easier to pump out. A company with a non-mixing or without the mixing step is going to try to pump solids directly through the disposal pipe and most likely end up with a big layer of grease at the bottom after the sludge from the bottom and the clean water from the middle has been pumped into the truck. So we mix, macerate everything together before we start pumping to the disposal truck. Here we see the 1 bar pressure. You might, those of you familiar with some of our competitors, they advertise with a higher pressure. I believe it's 150 or 175 bar pressure, which sounds good on paper, but that's a very, very small stream of water that sort of randomly sprays throughout the inside of the separator. The idea behind that is to try to break up the grease layer on top. Again, we work with 1 bar pressure through a 1 or multiple cleaning jets. And if you ever see these in person, this is a heavy-duty polyethylene cleaning jet with vertical nozzles that help break the grease. 1 second, I think I can see this better here. That help break up the grease, as well as lateral spray channels that are designed to clean the inside of the grease separator. Just going to steal the arrow here for a second. Again, here we see the macerating going to the top of the pump. Little bit difficult to see here, but we've got vertical jets that are designed to break up the grease layer, which is in this area, as well as lateral jets cleaning the interior of the separator. So we're already in function 2 here. The first function was mixing, and now we're in the cleaning function. So now, after we've disposed to the disposal truck, we add hot water to the system, if available. We always recommend hot water. If not available, you could use cold water, but hot water, like cleaning your dishes at home, makes it much easier to clean the inside of the grease separator. So one of the disposal steps is after the separator's been basically emptied, we add about 20 to 30 centimeters of hot water, and then run the same pumping, cutting, spraying back into the separator with hot water. This process is repeated 2 or ideally 3 times, and then after the final disposal, we have, after testing, we have about 2 to 3 liters of wastewater, I believe, still in the separator, and that's mainly clean wastewater because we've run through this cleaning disposal cycle 3 times. Now I'm going to jump to the final step of the disposal, which is the pumping to the truck. So this you see in the bottom, fully automated disposal. We have 2 models here. The one you see here with my green arrow is the fully automated model. I mean, this valve here automatically changes to the left and to the right to tell the pump to pump back into the grease separator or to the disposal truck. The version down from this, the MS version, has the manual valve here, but both are high-end, odor-free separators. Important is that no covers are opened and everything happens with a closed system. Again, the truck doesn't need to do anything. He just needs to be there and open, and this pump will do all the pumping work and mixing work and disposal work to that grease separator.
Let me repeat, what is the unique thing for the shredder mix system? 1, you have a macerator pump to mix the content, to have no blockages in the disposal pipe. 2nd, you have hot water for cleaning. Nobody at home uses cold water for cleaning, so hot water function is possible. And the 3rd one, you have a pump with a macerator who is pumping out of a long distance or height into the disposal truck. So that's the 3 unique function of the Kessel shredder mix system.
And show you this disposal height here. This is one of the important issues we want to mention. Is the disposal pipe height from grease separator to truck. This is a very easy application. Here the truck is about 10 meters away or 10 yards away, about 4 meters higher. In larger project, this can often change. The separator can go down to basement 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Truck is normally at ground level. So we've seen the mistakes made before. In Singapore, we've had a case where a different competitor put in separators that were way too deep, and the disposal truck could not vacuum out the contents. So if we were to support you, we would always ask where the separator is in comparison to the disposal truck, how far away and how deeper. And the norm says keep them as close as possible, but that's just the norm. I'm guessing you've got more problems to worry about than that, so we can custom design a separator if required to meet your disposal height and your disposal distances. Just going to jump to the next slide here. And sonic control, as the years go on, everything gets more automated, more digitized, so to say. Again, our high-end grease separators will come or can be offered with a inspection window where you can go down to the separator and easily see the layer of grease inside of it. A lot of the planners and consultants these days are looking for an automated system. That is our Kessel sonic control system that you can see here. The sensor is what you see on the right here. It's connected to its own control unit or the grease separator's control unit, and it sits here in the grease separator in the outlet layer. And here we use a sonic sound wave that shoots up within the separator that monitors, depending how long it takes to hit the grease layer and come back to the sensor. It'll digitally tell you on the screen the layer thickness of grease inside the separator. And that can also be connected with a telecontrol system of Kessel's that can send messages to cell phones to let you know when the separator is approximately full, as well as there's alarm function when the separator is very full. So this is used a lot here in Germany. You no longer need to empty the separator once a month. In the past, you had to empty the separator once a month, whether it was full or not. And with sonic control in Germany, you're allowed now to empty the separator when it's actually full of grease. So you get an immediate pre-warning as well as a warning that the separator is full, and then you can empty full separators rather than separators that are half full. That's sonic control. That's normally we like to do a little training on that. Our technical manager Darko is also here with us right now. Darko handles control units issues, especially sonic control issues. So if these are installed with the system and there's questions about it, Darko can handle all those questions via emails or sort of video chats, which we've been using lately. So separator sizing. We showed you quickly now how the high-end separators look like. Important is that they're designed properly, they're sized properly. Small kitchen, huge grease separator, waste of money on the huge grease separator. Huge kitchen, small separator, undersized grease separator. So before the separator goes in, the consultant in support with Kessel, if you'd like, should properly estimate the size of the grease separator. And this is all monitored or regulated by the European norm 1825. So if you work with Kessel, we won't give you the Kessel idea of what we think. We will give you exactly what the European norm says. So that gives you right there sort of a third-party recommendation based on the size of the separator. So how to size a European norm 1825 grease separator. There's three methods. You can see this on our brochure of grease separators, but I'll go through three of the methods very, very quickly. There's method one. This means the kitchen has to be in place and operating. Then you see here you place a flow metering device in the main drainage pipe from the kitchen. You turn on all the sinks, you turn on all the dishwashers, pressure washers, and then monitor the flow. And that's a great way to do it. Then you get the exact maximum flow. The problem is that's impossible to do on a new construction because the kitchen's not there yet. So this is one of the ways to do it, but it's very infrequently used. We have method two, which is based on this table below here. So the European norm tells you, based on what type of kitchen this is, either in a hotel, fine cuisine, fast food, hospital, military base, or standard kitchen, these factors that are thrown into this equation here. And we'll look at that again in a second. Again, this is method two. This is the most common method because it's easy to estimate before the project has even been fully designed and, of course, before it's even been installed. The final one would be method three, as you see here. This is based on what type of fixtures are in the kitchen. We did about 15 years ago, at that point in time, the largest grease separator in the world at the Dubai airport, Emirates Catering, and we used this method. There they have huge industrial tray washers and plate washers and utensil washers. So we calculated how many of those are draining to the separator and made our equation that way. But also relatively unusual, a little bit more difficult to do. And this is now the quick example of method two, the most common method. Again, this Q, we're looking for the flow Q. And this formula, VF times meals per day divided by hours times seconds in an hour, is the European norm formula. So please note, this is not Kessel's calculation or Kessel's recommendation. This is what how the European norm tells you to do it. And here again, you see the factors that are included. And if you have a hotel kitchen, your V is given to you. Here's your F given to you. M is the average number of estimated meals per day. You should have a relatively good idea what that'll be based on if it's a hotel, the size of the restaurant. You can get a good estimated estimation of the meals per day. And that's divided by T, the hours per day that the kitchen's operating. A hotel would probably be 18, 19, 20 hours a day. And then you divide it again by 3,600 to get liters per second. We'll run through a quick example in a second. Once you have this Q sub S value here, there's two factors that the norm recommends that you consider. One is the temperature of the wastewater. If you have wastewater above 60 degrees, which is extremely hot, then the norm says multiply the size of your grease separator by 1.3. So that makes your grease separator 30% bigger. The very hot water makes it a little bit more difficult, or we need more time inside the grease separator for the grease to float to the top. But normally on a typical example of a hotel kitchen, you would not be having a standard value of over 60 degrees Celsius. So here would be normally using a factor of 1, meaning it would not affect the size of the separator. But F sub R, that is the cleaning detergents. Every commercial kitchen uses soaps to clean the floors, to clean the dishes, and detergents. That again makes it a little bit more difficult inside the grease separator to reach the outlet concentrations we need to pass the test. So again, the norm says if you're using soaps and detergents, which all kitchens do, the separator needs to be increased by 30%. So we have the NS up here, which is Q sub S, which we just calculated from the last table. Normally we multiply that one time by 1.3 to get the size of the separator. We'll see that done here in two black and white examples. This is McDonald's. Martin put this comparison together for us. This is McDonald's, 1,200 meals per day, 18 hours per day of kitchen. So this is not a 24-hour McDonald's. This is 18 hours per day. And here you see these two factors, F and V, are from the table I showed you before. So for McDonald's fast food, you have factor 5 times 20 times 1,200 meals per day divided by 18 hours per day, multiplied by 3,600 to turn hours into seconds. And then you get a Q sub S. That means we're estimating the actual flow coming from the kitchen to the grease separator is 1.85 liters per second. We put this back in our equation, 1.85 times the 1.3 for the cleaners and detergents used to clean the dishes and the floors, mainly floors in McDonald's, and then a factor 1 due to the temperature not being too high. So for this McDonald's, 1,200 meals per day, 18 hours of operation per day, we have a size NS 2.41. We offer a size 2 separator, also a size 3. We've got a new size 3 grease separator. So in this case, the norm says round up. So if you came out with 2.4, you would not round down to a size 2 separator. You could round up to our size 3 liters per second grease separator. Or if you want slightly more capacity, you could use a size 4. You don't want to use a size 10 or size 20. That's too big, too expensive, and it'll take much, much too long to get full, meaning you might only be emptying every 6 months or a year, and you don't want the contents to sit inside the separator that long. So now let's use this exact same meals per day, 1,200 meals per day, 18 hours of kitchen operation, but now we're in a Four Seasons hotel, so no longer fast food, but in Four Seasons. And you see here, these two factors change from 5 and 20. The European norm says for a hotel, these factors go from 100 and 5. Meaning we put the new factors in, multiply by 1,200 meals per day, divide by the 18 hours by 3,600, and come out with 9.26, which again we multiply by the factor 1.3. We come out with 12 liters per second. So here you can see the difference between a fast food and a high-end restaurant, the different sizes of the grease separator. And the main reason being, you might think at McDonald's there's heavy grease, and you're right, there is, but there's no plates, there's no dishes, there's no utensils. There's just maybe the trays that you put your food on. So basically all the dirty, there's no dirty dishes. Everything gets thrown in the trash, meaning there's very, very little wastewater at a McDonald's. Probably during the multiple times a day, and especially during the end of the shift, they'll wash down the floors, and that's when you get your flow. But with a Four Seasons hotel, it's a much, much higher flow per meal. If we went 4 of us to dinner, we might all 4 have appetizers, 4 main courses, 4 desserts, and the kitchen will be much, much more busier, much more pans being used, much more dishes, glasses, and utensils that need to be washed, which is the reason here, when you go to higher end hotels or restaurants, the expected flow is significantly higher than, let's say, a military barracks, a hospital, or the worst case example here would be a McDonald's. So again, this is how to size a separator. Very important, relatively easy to do, and would be happy to support you guys. Again, New Green knows how to do this all, but if it's a larger project with multiple grease separators, would be happy to support you in terms of how to size the proper grease separator. So now we're jumping to the lifting station. We're sort of slowly finishing up, so we're maybe another 5 or 10 minutes. We're going to move now to the system again. We spoke about the stainless steel drains in the kitchen. We just finished up the grease separator. Now what to do with the clean water coming out of the grease separator. If your clean water is below sewer level, you clearly need to lift it with a lifting station up to sewer level. If you have a case where you have gravity flow to the sewer, but there's risk of flooding or backflow or backwater, then you could install a lifting station to solve that problem. So let's jump to the next slide and show you what we have available in our program. And we've got smaller systems like this. We also have larger systems like this. But in a normal case, behind one of the grease separators would be an Aqualift F XL Duo system. So behind the grease separator, 100% we need 2 pumps. In case one pump goes down, we have the second jumping into duty to take over all operation. Again, an alarm will sound letting you know that that one pump is down. But always behind the grease separator, please specify a twin pump system. If we were working on a project and saw a spec for a single pump system, we would return that to you to say, please consider a twin pump system. That's 100% recommended on after a grease separator. Also different size tanks, 200 liter, 300, 450 liter. We also have larger tanks than this, but these are the standard system that handle most of our applications. In terms of the pump size, again, here we're pumping from wherever the pump is, which is about grease separator layer, up to public sewer level or up to ground level. There could be many different applications in this, and here we've got some small 230 volt systems. If 400 volts available, we definitely recommend that. And here you see we've got a 1500 watt, 3000, 4500, 5000 watt systems, as well as even more powerful systems. But we would recommend also the exact pump storage capacity size, as well as the exact pump power for your application. So we don't quickly say, order this pump, it's big enough, it'll handle the application. Each project, each separator, each lifting station is looked at on a one-to-one basis. So we give you the exact separator and the exact lifting station for your application, for that specific application. Smart Select is what we use to tell you what exact lifting station should be used. We can also size the grease separators in Smart Select. Here right now we're showing you an example of an output of a lifting station Smart Select. So Smart Select is a Kessel program that works or calculates 100% based on the European norm 12050. So again, we're not trying to trick you into a specific Kessel pump. Every recommendation we make is 100% backed by the European norm 12050 calculations. A Smart Select printout would look like this. So here you see here the liters per second coming into the lifting station. So we need to be able to pump at least that much. Here are some pipe sizes. Here's the length of the disposal pipe is 50 meters. The vertical height we need to pump is 15 meters. Here's some viscosities, things like that, Reynolds numbers that some of us did or did not learn in school or forgotten by now. So this is sort of the data you enter into Smart Select. Again, we can help you with that. This is the second part of the Smart Select output, which is the pump calculation. And second,
yes, and Smart Select, what Eric mentioned, is an online tool. So you can use it, of course, by your own. It's online on the Kessel.com website. You don't have to register it. Then you cannot save the calculation. But when you are registered, then you can save your calculation and go on a week or a month later. So it's free of charge. But in the beginning, we recommend to do that with us, with one of our new green colleagues, or with us. Then we help you with the calculation.
Right, and this calculation, or each calculation, you can save on our sort of cloud, the Smart Select cloud, or save it in your files. And the important thing is that this is designed to the norm. So if 2 or 3 years from now somebody calls back or is under the impression the lifting station was specified improperly, and he wants to know what consultant did it, then you have this information in your document. So you don't have to say, oh geez, that was 2 or 3 years ago, I forgot what I calculated. It's all in writing, all based on the European norm 12050, and all 100% correct. So it's great for the engineers and consultants. You guys like simple, foolproof data, and that's what the Smart Select calculation gives you. So again, any project you're working on, let us know. New Green as well as Kessel can help you with all the specification information that then you can put in your file. So planning tips. Where to put the separator, what type of separator use. This is a separator here you see in the picture we didn't speak about today. The reason being, this is in an ideal application, it's a separator you could use, but this application is often not the case. Here you see a very low cost grease separator. It's very close to the disposal truck. The suction height is not too high. The truck is very close. It's maybe 3 or 4 meters higher than the grease separator. The lateral distance is close by. This disposal truck must have a suction pump. But again, the main important thing to look for here is with these very basic separators, the covers need to be removed to dispose of the separator, and that is a major odor issue. Again, if you're near the wall of the building here, have an access window, a ventilation window, you could possibly get away with these basic style separators, but this is often not the case. Bigger project, the separator moves farther away from the truck, and again, as I mentioned before, deeper down. Basement 1, 2, 3, 4, and the deeper you get, the more difficult it is to vacuum out this grease separator. And if you go deep enough, then you cannot vacuum it out. You need to pump the contents of the grease separator up to the disposal truck. So here, open cover disposal, you see on the left, customer needs to be nearby the disposal truck. Solution again, either upgrade or from the beginning on, specify a higher end automated or semi-automated grease separator. See that back here. I'm just going to jump. I think I jumped too far here. 1 second. I'm going very fast. Right. Here's another example. Here we have a grease separator without a lifting station. We're draining with gravity into the public sewer. Sounds good when everything's going okay. The problem is, based on the on-site landscape, I'd say, or what's happening out here, this sewer can flood and again back up into the grease separator system. So if you have normal gravity flow under normal conditions to the sewer, that is not you still need to look at a lifting station. Again, in this application, you can install a lifting station, meaning all the clean water from the lifting station from the grease separator goes in the lifting station. Then we could pump over the ground level and then drain with gravity into the sewer level, which would solve any backup or back flooding problems here. So this might look good on paper. You say, oh great, I've got gravity drainage to the sewer. But again, it's something you need to look at more closely. You may want to specify a lifting station to foolproof or basically cut the pipe here, meaning you're pumping up and then draining into the sewer. If this grease separator is on floor 3, 4, or 5 of the building, then of course a lifting station is not required. But if you're in the basement and the outlet is below sewer level, you 100% need a lifting station. And in a case like this, you would want to seriously consider a lifting station here to prevent flooding coming back into the grease separator during heavy rains, for example. So just quickly to special solutions, some of the things we do often. What you see in our catalog are standardized products. We have what we call our IL department, our individual solutions department. They do everything that's not in the catalog. So you see on the left here, let me get my green arrow back where it went. Here's my green arrow. This is a fully automated deep underground grease separator. Again, these are made for throughout Europe, mainly Germany, but also Singapore. We sell a lot of these, as well as in the Middle East. So if something you don't see in our catalog, that doesn't mean we can't do it. We can definitely do it. We've got an entire team of engineers as well as manufacturing guys that all they do is make these customized separators. Here you see on the right on-site assembly. In a new build, it's good to get the separator specified and ordered as soon as possible so we can get it into the building while we still have access. Many European countries have buildings that have been around for hundreds of years with limited access. We also have a team of guys that can go and actually assemble the separator inside the room. So that they bring parts and sheets of polyethylene and assemble the separator inside the room. Here's a large grease separator. This is a twin parallel system. Middle East uses this a lot. We just finished last year I think the largest project in the world in Belgrade waterfront, where we had about, I think, 10 or 15 large, fully automated separators go in. So here, if you have a very, very high flow, we can split it using a splitter box or distribution box into 2 large separators. And here in one room, with normal shipping in a container, we can handle probably about 100 liters per second using the splitter box. So again, there's many type of applications. In India, larger market, big hotels, big shopping malls, I would expect that this could come into play. So quickly to references. Again, Martin Geis works with the New Green Company more than I do, but there's many references that we've had. Martin, maybe you can tell verbally about the references.
Yes. Geh on Dings, on live. Yes, we are back here on the live screen. Yes, at last we have here the references here. One of our biggest references is International Convention Center, where we offered 15 separators of our Easy Clean. So that was one of our reference. Then another one is here from Amazon. So here at the biggest retail center, we delivered separators, 6 pieces of Easy Clean separators here at the biggest retail center in India. And the last one, what I want to show you as our reference, sorry, come on. The last one. No, there should be another one. Yes, it's Google. At the campus in India, we delivered also separators, NS50, at the Google campus in India, where grease separator we supply for that, and New Green helped at the installation. So these are our main 3 references. Now we will come to our questions or discussion. I already wrote down some questions. Eric, you want to help me with the questions? So there was one question. Yeah, how does the macerator of our disposal pump work? Is it with a blade, a knife, or by air? So.
Would you like me to answer this for you right now?
Yes, please.
Okay, right. All the pumps you see in the grease separators. The standard one is the 3 kilowatt pump. You'll see in all of our internet pages as well as catalogs. As well as the larger pumps, that's a 3 kilowatt pump. We offer a 4 kilowatt, 5 kilowatt, 7 kilowatt, 0.5 kilowatt, depending on how high and how far you need to pump. And these all have a cutting system in it. So again, inside the base of the grease separator, there will be sludge, pieces of meat, fruit, vegetables, things that we want to cut up before we send it through the disposal pipe. So the macerating pump has a cutting system in it. So there's an impeller to create the pressure, and then all the liquids go directly through the cutting system, I guess professionally called the macerating system, to mix water, solids, and grease together before we pump to the disposal truck. So all of the disposal pumps on the grease separator are equipped with a macerating system that actually cuts everything going through it before spraying it back into the grease separator or pumping it to the disposal truck.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. Another thing, we didn't talk about ventilation of separator and lifting station. And this is a very important topic because most of the problems what we have with lifting station is a problem of insufficient ventilation. What tips do we have?
Ventilate.
To ventilate, right.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have the case. We had a slide that we threw out right before this presentation that actually showed the ventilation. All of our lifting stations have a ventilation connection on them. They need to be cut off on site, so it's a little bit unusual. It's not open. We ship it closed. You 100% have to cut that off on site and then attach a DN or 75 millimeter pipe that's run preferably to the ambient air of the building, or this gets into a field that we're not really specialized in or not really specialized in, the ventilation to the stack of the building. So Darko, our technical guy, that's one of the first questions he'll ask if he's got a new lifting station that's showing problems. He'll request a picture of it, as well as a picture of the digital display, and normally from that he'll see if the ventilation has been connected or not. If not, that's the problem with your lifting station. And there's many other things that we can figure out, or Darko can figure out, based on easy telephone calls or easy pictures sent to us back and forth. But again, the lifting station 100% has to be ventilated. We've got wastewater coming into an enclosed tank, so we need to let a little bit of the water coming in push air out. And even more important, when it turns on, we can pump 200-300 liters out within 2 or 3 seconds, and that leaving water needs to be replaced by fresh air then. So yes, you have to ventilate the lifting station.
Yes, right. Yes, we talked about sonic control, our grease layer measurement. What are the warning signs for grease? How do we know that that now it is a warning?
Right. Yep. Again, I'm a big fan of the simple method, which is the inspection window, which is included on our high-end separators. As I said, as design advances, people like to go to the digital system, which is the sonic control, which sits in the outlet area of the grease separator. It's connected to the grease separator control unit if you have a fully automated grease separator. And there we have values. Depending on the size of the grease separator, the European norm grease layer maximum is set. That's normally, I believe, about 20 to 24 centimeters. So on the sonic control system, we'll get a pre-alarm, which is a warning to you saying the grease separator is relatively full. You should probably consider ordering a disposal truck in the near future. And then there's the final alarm saying that the grease separator is full. Again, with the grease separator, it's never critical. If you get the final alarm, that does not mean you need to empty on that day. But if you do reach the final alarm stage, over the next week, probably you should order the disposal truck, and they'll come out, connect the disposal type, and again, with the Kessel systems, you'll do a fully automated mixing, disposal, cleaning, and refilling of the grease separator.
Yes, another question is dairy industry. I know this question comes very often. What can we offer for dairy industry?
Yeah, the milk production or cheese production, dairy production is a difficult system for us. If you, for example, with a salad dressing, oil and vinegar, you shake an oil and vinegar dressing, put the glass back on the table. Within a few minutes, you see the oil in the top, vinegar in the bottom. That's similar to how it works in a grease separator. With milk, it's a different story. If you take half a glass of milk, add half a glass of water to it and mix it, it'll stay in that emulsified or mixed stage for a very, very long time. So for a pure dairy system, it would not be a European norm separator that you'd be looking for. Martin, do you have any comments on that? Would pretty much stay away from that?
Yes, dairy, in general, we cannot recommend to use dairy products in combination with grease separators. So then you need advanced cleaning or retreatment systems. So in general, for dairy systems, you cannot use grease separators. Yes, another question was for backwater protection, why we don't offer a backwater valve of the grease separator. If you have a slope to the sewer and want to have backwater protection, or we have backwater valves in our program. Why we don't offer that?
Well, it's nice to know that the viewer knows that we have backwater products. It's one of our main products we offer. For grease separator, it's a different situation. That could protect your building from flooding. It will protect your grease separator from getting sewage water into it. But our systems, I'm guessing you're talking about a higher end system or electronic system, which would protect the building. The problem is during flooding, you'd protect the building, but the treated water leaving the grease separator would not be able to enter the public sewer because of that backwater valve. So we definitely wouldn't recommend that. We would need a what we call a hybrid system or a classical lifting station to collect all the wastewater from the grease separator, pump it up to ground level, then drain back into sewer level. So after grease separator, difficult. Again, you'd protect the building, but you'd limit yourself. You would not be able to let wastewater from the grease separator drain into the sewer when the backwater valve is shut.
Right. And the last question is about certificates that we should. Of course, we have certificates and you have approvals, and you can find them on our website, kessel.com. Type the product number inside, then you get the manual, you get digital data and the approval of that. So that's here online available. So all the approvals what you need for the separators.